Good evening. Wow, what a crowd. It's so nice to see so many friends and partners in the room. And before jumping into introductions into the program, I want to take a moment to thank Michelle and the NJBIA team for the organization's longtime partnership with United and for the opportunity to serve as a sponsor of this critically important gubernatorial candidates forum. I'm especially delighted to be able to kick things off by introducing each candidate prior to them addressing you. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because each candidate will dig deeper when they come up. So I'll start with Jack Ciattarelli. A lifelong Jersey guy, Jack was born in Somerville and raised in the borough of Raritan, where his grandparents immigrated 100 years ago. A certified public accountant, Jack earned his degree in accounting from Seton Hall University, where he also received his MBA in finance. Jack is a successful entrepreneur and small business owner twice over. He founded 2 successful Main Street businesses right here in the great state of New Jersey. But all of these titles he's earned, above all, he's most proud to be called Dad. He's the father of 4 children, now all adults and accomplished in their fields. Jack has always believed in giving back to the community that has given him so much. In the public arena, he has served at every level of government, including the Raritan Borough Council from 1990 to 1995, serving as its council president from 1991 until 1995. He also served on the Somerset County Freeholder Board from 2007 to 2011, and then moved on to the State Assembly, where he represented the 16th Legislative District from 2011 to 2018. In each of his elected positions, he voluntarily term limited himself. That's rare. In 2021, Jack ran for governor. He continues to speak out about the challenges facing New Jerseyans, promoting what he believes are common sense solutions to kitchen table problems. Everyone, please join me in welcoming to the podium, Jack Ciattarelli.
That introduction left me a little wanting in only one respect. In 1973, as a Cub Scout, I did win the Pinewood Derby. And that car and trophy are still on the shelf in my office. This is a business community, so let's get down to business. She had mentioned, Monica had, that 100 years ago, my grandparents came here from Valentano, Italy. My grandfather started out in the ditch for the water company, saved his nickels and dimes, bought a backhoe, a trailer, and a dump truck. 5 years later, was the largest independent contractor for the water company. My grandparents came here in search of one thing, opportunity. This country gave it to them. They took advantage and achieved the American dream for their family. My father came very late in life. My grandfather's business had already been sold. It thrived in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. My parents, to this day, are my inspiration. They're no longer with us, but no 2 people worked harder. No 2 people were of greater integrity. They taught us to take care of each other, our community, our neighbor, our state, our country, never expect anything in return. It was a magnificent house in which to grow up for my 3 siblings and me. My parents often reminded us of our responsibilities. They never talked about our rights as children in that house because we didn't have any. We got one right at the age of 18, the right to leave. They owned a restaurant bar. My mother worked midnights for J&J for 18 years, ran the restaurant bar by day. My dad worked for Public Service Gas, Street Department, as a union pipe fitter for 38 years. He ran the restaurant bar by night and provided an unbelievable middle-class life for my 3 siblings and me. And as I said, to this day, they inspire me. But they, too, achieved the American dream for their family because of their hard work. All they wanted was opportunity. They found it right here in New Jersey. I, too, have achieved the American dream right here in New Jersey. Monica told you about my resume. I'm a 2-time business owner. The first business was sold in 97. Tried retirement, failed miserably, started another one in 2000, had a good run and sold that in 2017. And so when I'm asked, why is it you're running for governor? It's very, very simple. I want today's New Jerseyans and future generations of New Jerseyans to feel confident they too can achieve their American dream right here in New Jersey. Unfortunately today, concern about your education, concern about finding the job of your dreams, concern about starting a family, raising a family, starting a business, retiring comfortably, are all things that are causing people a great deal of insecurity, if not fear. We need to address those concerns. I believe leadership matters. I believe those things can be addressed, and that is why I'm running for governor. Let me be clear. I don't want to be congressman, I don't want to be U.S. senator, and I don't want to be president, and I don't want to write a book. Too many of our governors on both sides of the aisle over the last 40 years have used this position to try to get to Washington. My sole ambition is to fix the state of New Jersey. When something I love is broken, I want to fix it. I believe it can be fixed. I believe leadership matters. If you decide to send me home after 4 years or 8 years, you'll find me in the beach in Surf City. Okay? This is home, always will be. One of my primary objectives is to make New Jersey a better place to do business. I do not want to be the governor of a state that's ranked year over year over year as one of the worst places in the country in which to do business. And in the old days, however you want to define the old days, businesses would look primarily at two things: taxes and regulations. Today, they look at four things: taxes, regulations, labor pool, and energy. And to be quite candid, we're sucking wind in all four. In my opinion, the current administration has been a failure in addressing these issues. In my opinion, there's been no balance in this administration. In my opinion, this administration has not been pro-business. It doesn't celebrate the business community. And so one of the first things that I will do on day one of my administration, first and foremost, we're bringing our state workers back to work. Try getting somebody on the phone. Try getting your issue resolved. I think this government better serves its 9.5 million customers, our citizens, and its 1 million businesses, small, medium, and large, better if we're at work every day working on your behalf. Let me say something else about my administration. The answer will not be no, and our state agencies will not be police states or collection agencies. They will be partners. We will help you get to where it is you've got to go in order for you to be successful. Because when you're successful, New Jersey is successful. Let me tell you something else we're going to do on day one of my administration. We will no longer be the only state in the country that does not have a Department of Commerce. This kind of went away in the last years of the Corzine administration and the Christie administration. I think it sends an important signal to the business community of New Jersey that we have a Department of Commerce. I don't need 200 people. I don't need 100 people. I think with a couple of dozen people, we could serve the needs of the economic development needs we have across the state in North, Central, South, and Jersey Shore, because they're all distinctly different with their own attributes, but their own challenges. Small, medium, and large-sized businesses. I think it's important that businesses know that they have a liaison to the executive branch. I think it's important that big businesses, if they're working on very, very large-scale projects, have somebody in my Department of Commerce that can help shepherd things through the various departments so you don't have to work with 4 or 5 different agencies. I think we need better balance when it comes to regulations. We're an over-regulated state. I believe that we can lessen the regulations without screwing the consumer or doing irreparable harm to the environment. I think you'll find in my administration that every one of my cabinet members comes from the front lines, understands what's actually going on in the community. There's no time for a honeymoon. There's crises raging all across the state, whether it's the affordability crisis because of our high taxes on our individuals and businesses. There's a public safety crisis because we've handcuffed our police. There's a public education crisis. We recently have slipped from 2 to 12 on the National Report Card. There's an overdevelopment crisis in our suburbs, and there is an energy crisis, which brings me to something else that you'll see on day one of my administration. We are going to recreate something we had under Tom Kean Sr., a Department of Energy. I don't need 200 people. I don't need 100 people. I need 1 or 2 dozen people that are going to work in partnership with me to solve the energy crisis across this state. And so let me be candid as to what that means. I've never been an advocate for wind. I believe it's bad economics, bad energy policy, and bad environmental policy. Natural gas is a very rational bridge to the future for whenever it is the future shows up. Whether that future is fusion energy, micromodular nuclear, carbon capture, hydrogen cell, it will arrive. But until then, we need a rational transition to the future. I refuse to lose to our neighboring states. Right now, the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania is burning 7 coal-burning plants. I don't want to have a debate whether or not you think that's right or wrong, But we need to acknowledge that the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania is burning 7 coal-burning plants to produce electricity. They're burning natural gas to produce electricity. And because they are, they're going to get the data centers. The data centers that are needed to support AI and cryptocurrency, which are 2 economic development opportunities. Do you or do you not want to compete? There's another reason why we need to compete. Phil Murphy will try to tax his way out of our challenges that we face, and there is fiscal calamity around the corner. Okay? I will reduce the size and cost of our state government, but you can't cut your way out of this. The only way out is to grow our economy. And so what do we need to do? A more favorable tax environment. The Democratic governors of Pennsylvania are lowering their corporate business tax from 10 to 5%, while we raised ours as of last July 1st from 9 to 11.5%, the highest in the nation. Do you or do you not want to compete? I will lower the business tax in New Jersey 1% a year over a 6-year period to get it on even keel with Pennsylvania. We can do this. We just need to set the right priorities. You've already talked about regulations. We can be less regulatory intensive. This administration has wanted to make every 1099er a W-2, every non-union job a union job. I'm not anti-union, but I think our economy is best served when there's balance. Right now, we don't have that kind of balance. How about if we adopt Delaware's bylaws for corporate governance? Nevada did that 13 years ago. It's worked real well there. I've yet to find anyone who can give me a good argument as to why we should adopt Delaware's bylaws for corporate governance. How about if we make the gain on the sale of an IPO stock tax-free if you headquarter in New Jersey? For small businesses, how about if we make the first $100,000 of business income tax-free? How about if we make the first $100,000 of payroll exempt from employer payroll taxes? How about if you make the gain on the sale of a sole proprietorship, those mom and pop shops on Main Street, tax-free? That wasn't me. If any one of you were to have started a dry cleaner or a pizzeria 25 or 30 years ago for $25,000, and over the course of 25 or 30 years, you supported the PBA, you supported the fire department, you supported all those Little League teams, you created jobs, you were never dependent on the social safety net. You were part of that small business economy that really buoys our state economy. And then after 25 or 30 years, after building up the volume of this very successful business, and really did a great job of branding it, you can turn around and sell it for $500,000. At that closing, you'll have to cut a check to the state of New Jersey for $60,000. You want to see entrepreneurship take off in this state? Make the gain on the sale of a sole proprietorship tax-free. Tax-free. There's something else that we need to do here in New Jersey, and I'm going to be very aggressive with regard to this as your governor. The suburbs that many of us live in are magnificent, but suburbs are not the engines of economic growth. Thriving, vibrant cities are the engines of economic growth, and ours are not. Are there pockets of vibrancy? You bet there are. But I got to get people to want to live in places like Newark and Trenton and Atlantic City again. I recently spoke before a group such as this in Atlantic City. The person who was up before me was the economic development officer for Atlantic City, and I'm not being critical of him, but he was lamenting the fact that on Atlantic Avenue, the main street that runs parallel to the boardwalk, there were 72 empty storefronts. When I got up, I reminded the audience that 100 years ago, 1925, the population of Atlantic City was 55,000. Today it's 35,000. What would 20,000 more people mean to the local economy? Do you know that nearly 50% of your $50 billion plus state budget supports only 5 cities in this state in the form of state aid to schools and Medicaid and emergency medical aid and on down the list? Because their economies are not self-sustaining. And I refuse to come back in 4 or 8 or 50 years and be having the exact same conversation. If any of you send your children to private school, you're paying for schools 3 times. Your local property tax pays for your local school district. Your income tax pays for Newark School District and Trenton's and Atlantic City's. And your pocketbook is paying for your private tuition. And this is why there's an affordability crisis in New Jersey. We've got to solve our cities. And so I will be very, very aggressive in making our cities places where people want to live again so that that magical small business New Jersey economy takes off to create that self-sustaining environment in those communities. I have lived for the past 2 years in Somerville, New Jersey, the county seat. Raise your hand if you've been there. 10 years ago, it was plagued by blight. Through a robust partnership with the Christie administration and working with the community, downtown Somerville is now vibrant. Downtown Somerville is no longer dependent on $5 million of emergency municipal aid paid for by all of you. Today, Somerville has a $5 million surplus. We went up with low, moderate, and market rate units in a transit hub, where there's a New Jersey Transit bus line on Main Street, where there's the Round Valley train station, where there are jobs because of the county government and the hospital and the court system and a vibrant downtown. That's a microcosm of what we have to do on a much larger scale in our major cities. And we can do it. It's just going to take bold leadership. Bold leadership. So, with that, is it question time? Moderator.
I think we booby-trapped you on the water bottles down here. Okay, we have 2 mics in the room, and we have about 10 minutes for some Q&A with Jack. So raise your hand. And I see Barbara from the Cape May County Chamber. We have a mic coming to you, Barbara. Hang on 1 second. Raise your hand. Anthony, we're right over here in the middle. Okay, I'll step away.
If it's really hard, I'll give it to Mikey Sherrill.
Hi. Hi. Thank you for
Hey,
hearing
Barbara.
me out. Hi, how are you doing?
Good to see you.
I'm the president of the Cape May County Chamber of Commerce. Governor Murphy put together an economic council to collaborate between state government and the business community. Cape May County was not included. Are you going to look past Atlantic City, come down south to the real South Jersey, which is Salem, Cumberland, Cape May County, and put us on the menu at the table of any economic council so we can talk about our issues? We send $8.1 billion back in occupancy tax. We get very little back. We're number 2 in the state. We're never at the table. Question, will you put us at the table?
So, Barbara, I'm going to sound immodest for a second. No gubernatorial candidate has spent more time in South Jersey than I have. And listen, I've been criticized for declaring early. This is the largest small state in the country. 564 towns, 21 counties, north, central, south, and Jersey Shore. Yes, there is a Central Jersey. I live in it, and I don't want to hear any shit about it. There is a Central Jersey. We're in it right now. And so we're all in this together. And this state's economy is never going to fire on all cylinders unless every region, every county fulfills the utmost potential that it has to offer, economically speaking. And so there's a whole lot of opportunity down in South Jersey. And, when you heard me talk about reinstituting the Department of Commerce and it being partitioned along regions, north, central, south, and Jersey Shore, but also along business units, large, medium, and small. And that's how we're going to go about this. And so South Jersey will have a direct line to the executive branch, and your businesses that want to prosper there will have liaisons to the various agencies in state government because of that Department of Commerce. But the answer is yes, absolutely, absolutely yes. Yeah.
Question. Stand up. Jeff Cantor.
Hey, Jeff.
Mike is right there.
Jeff is the CEO of the New Jersey Veterans Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you so much, Jack. Appreciate the opportunity to ask this question. So the state has a 3% set-aside law for disabled veteran-owned businesses. To date, since 2015, when the law became public law, the state has never met its obligation or even enforced it to the degree that it should to award contracts to disabled veteran-owned businesses. If you were to be elected governor, what would you do to help enforce the law and make sure that veterans and disabled veterans have their fair share of economic development opportunities?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And so this has been a very point of frustration for me, and I know a great many business owners around the state. The governor can change this tomorrow with his through an executive order. One thing that we could do is something I've heard repeatedly from businesses that do business with both New Jersey and New York. New York's procurement process is worlds better than New Jersey. Why don't we adopt New York's procurement processes? One question, whatever space that you're in, whenever you come to me, what I'm going to say is, listen, I don't want to just have a gripe session. We know there's a lot to gripe about. Come to me with 3 or 4 reforms, 3, 4, or 5 reforms specific to your industry. And as long as we're not screwing the consumer or doing irreparable harm to the environment, you'll have a champion in me. And I'll bring the leadership in from both houses, and we'll get this done. But we're going to observe the set-asides for our minority-owned businesses and our veteran-owned businesses on day one. And I do that by adopting New York's procurement processes, which are so much better than ours. Oh, goodness. Audrey always asks a hard question. Mikey, you ready?
Well, thanks for the lead-in. I'm Audrey Lane, president of Garden State Initiative, and I appreciate you bringing energy to the forefront of the conversation tonight. We have a bit of an energy problem, in case people didn't notice yet. So my question to you is, in your administration, I heard you mention nuclear, I heard you mention natural gas, but it seems to me, from the research we've done, that the process is broken. We have a lack of a check and balances on the BPU, and there seems to be a lack of a legislative input or other input into the process. And we have right now a New Jersey Energy Master Plan that's 6 months late. So my question to you is, how would you improve that?
So first of all, it all begins with leadership, and that not only includes who we elect as governor, but who the governor brings to the table. I'm going to call for the resignation of all those that sit at the BPU, whose membership is not up just yet, who I think have really, really blundered here by betting it all on wind. Listen, I don't have my head in the sand in terms of some of the powerful signals Mother Earth is sending us, but the approach we've seen from this administration is the wrong approach. It was unrealistic. It was pie in the sky. It was never going to meet the forecasted demand of electricity. So we are going to expand our ability to produce electricity from natural gas, kind of lifting the unofficial moratorium on our existing natural gas-fired electricity generation plants. I'll bring 3 or 4 more online within a 2-year period, and we will expand our nuclear footprint in South Jersey. I'm not opposed to solar, but I got to go where we can produce the greatest amount of electricity in the most reliable way, in the most cost-effective way to get these rates down. And quite frankly, and listen, I don't mean to sound partisan, but it's therapeutic for me to get off my back and chest, okay? For us to suddenly send a $100 check to everybody in New Jersey in October to help offset the increases they might see in electricity bill is insulting. So we're not doing that kind of thing. I'm sick and tired of administrations taking money out of your right-hand pocket, somehow finding some of it, putting it back in your left-hand pocket, and giving it a fancy name. We can solve our energy crisis. We just need a rational transition. One more.
Yep. Stand up, please. Mike's coming. Tell everybody who you are.
Thank you very much. Terrence Wall, Vice President of Marsh McLennan Agency. Question, counties, county colleges, utilities, municipalities, public school districts, both union and management being crushed by healthcare costs, right? The state health benefits plan is considered to be in a death spiral from the folks that are involved in it, and this all goes down to the taxpayer. So I just wanted to ask if you have thought process that brings both collective bargaining folks together with management to deal with the backbreaking costs that are even upcoming in the renewals that are coming up in January for public sector across the state of New Jersey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terrence. Listen, there are a lot of things that are contributing to the cost of health care. First of all, this is a cost structure that hits the trifecta. It's bricks and mortar intensive, it's technology intensive, it's human resource intensive, so it's going to continue to be expensive, especially during inflationary times. But that's not to say we can't address this. I do think we need more competition in the state, and I do think that any entity that's approved to sell health insurance in the state has to offer all kinds of plans. I'm 63, I'm not eligible for Medicare yet, but I do have to buy my own insurance since I'm retired. Not every carrier in the state offers individual plans. I think that's wrong. If you're licensed to sell insurance in the state, you should have to sell an individual plan. But I think if we make New Jersey a better place to do business, we can certainly help drive down costs a bit. I think it should be easier for small business. I know you have some type of program, But, and this isn't a criticism of NJBIA, which is a magnificent organization, but for too many businesses on Main Street, it's too well kept a secret. I think it should be easier for small business to combine their purchasing power to purchase health insurance. And the other thing is that drives me nuts about the New Jersey tax code, and it's something, you know, I can go on ad nauseum as a CPA. When I was in business for myself and I had 30 employees, I paid for their health insurance, and I was able to deduct 100% of it on my New Jersey and federal tax return. I now buy individual health insurance. I'm not allowed to deduct 100% of it. That seems terribly unfair to me. But listen, we need to address the healthcare costs. And I do need to bring the unions to the table. I mean, right now, the state of New Jersey offers 52 different choices. Let me tell you another way that we can address it, particularly with the unions. Okay, Chapter 78, in some ways, is not working out real well. We can have our public employees get a 2, 3, 4% increase in their pay and end up with less take-home pay because of Chapter 78. I think that's unfair. So we need to address the cost of health care. And if we can't, we need to readdress Chapter 78. So it's a question that has a very, very complex answer. And I'm also one that's always going to say, what are other states doing with success? I'm one that, you know, we don't always have to be a vanguard. What are other states doing with success? What are best practices around the country that they've been able to address some of these affordability issues? Because we need to do it here in New Jersey. We need to do it soon. And you have my word, as governor, we will. Guys, thank you for all that you do. Appreciate it.
I know. So, Jack, let me just say, as you're out on the stump, right, you can help out BIA and tell all those Main Street businesses about our multiple employer healthcare program, and you'll be doing them a solid. So thanks. Another round of applause for Jack.